I am reminded that I stand here not by merit and qualification, but by amazing grace. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, for you are truly our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Interesting passage this morning. I'm going to read it twice. So, depending on what translation you have, hopefully this will make sense. But this morning's passage comes from John, the 5th chapter, verses 1 through 9. And I'm going to begin by reading from the New Revised Standard Version. It is unfortunately not on the back. It's printed, but the text isn't printed. So it just tells you John 5, not printed. That's really helpful. John 5, 1 through 9. I'm going to read starting with the New Revised Standard Version. Please follow along with whatever version you have. After this, there was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he had been there a long time and said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat, and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. Now, that day was a Sabbath. Now I'm just going to read the same text, but I'm going to read the first 4 verses. Feel free to follow again from the King James Version. They read as follows. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting to be moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole of whatever disease he had. I'm going to stop right there. Let us now consider for a theme this morning, what do you do when there is no verse 4? What do you do when there is no verse 4? Church, just for a moment, I'd like for you to walk back with me in time to 1st century Jerusalem during Passover. Of all the sacred festivals, Passover was the most important. For Passover commemorated the deliverance of the Jews from Egypt and the establishment of Israel as a nation. Passover put the how in there, how I got over. If we could go back and witness a Passover in 1st century Jerusalem, we would be privy to a coming together of community celebrating how God brought them out of the muck and mire of bondage, how God was their pillar of cloud by day and their pillar of fire by night. All of Jerusalem is shut down because there is celebration in the air. We hear the laughter of children. Jerusalem is one coming together, praising God's goodness. find Jesus in the midst of such miracle? We might go over to the temple. Perhaps he's in discussion with the religious leaders regarding the practical theological application of clean and unclean. But he's not there. With all the people who have come to Jerusalem, perhaps he's in the center of town urging individuals to join his movement. But we can't find him there either. To find Jesus during this particular Passover festival, one would have to go to the northeast part of town over by the sheep gate to a pool called Bethsaida. This little pool called Bethsaida is an interesting place. It has 5 porticos or 5 columns. According to the text, many invalids would lay in the porticos. The lame, the blind, and paralyzed would all get down in the pool. One man who is described as ill has been there for 38 years. Not in the pool, but he's just been there for 38 years. Is he lame? Is he blind? Is he paralyzed? The text is not clear. It just says he was ill. In some of your translations, he was sick. Unfortunately, the text does not give us enough information. All we know is the man is ill and he's been at the pool called Bethsaida for 38 years. For almost 4 decades, this man has been right there. For some unknown reason, this man used 13,870 of his precious and finite days right here at the pool called Bethsaida. Now, to put this in a contemporary context, to understand how much time has gone by while this man was at the pool, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were both shot. A man went to the moon. The Vietnam War came to an end. Watergate made headline news. Hostages were taken in Iran. Reagan funneled money to the Contras and Ollie North lied about it. Reagan told Gorbachev to tear down the wall. Nelson Mandela was finally freed from prison after 27 years. Then Mandela got to cast his first vote. Then Mandela became president of a free South Africa. The first George Bush went after Saddam Hussein. And then after that, Clinton said he didn't have sex with that woman. Then the second George Bush went after Saddam again and lied about it 6 times before he came up with a reason as to why. Then Obama said, yes, we can. Arnold said, I'll be back. Clinton said, make my day. Jack said, you can't have the truth. All this happened while this man stayed by the pool. 38 years. He'd have missed all that. Waiting for renewal. Waiting for transformation. Waiting for hope. Sitting there 38 years. Waiting for his change to come. Anybody here feel like that? Can anybody here relate to this, brother? You've been stuck. Maybe not by the pool, but in life. Waiting for renewal. Waiting for transformation. Waiting for hope. Marked on your calendar, someday things are going to be different. Someday never comes. It leads to more frustration. Waiting for your change to come. This man has become intimate with a suffocating, dormant, and hopeless condition. Why? When you think about it, it's perplexing. It doesn't make sense. He's not getting in the pool, church. He's just there. He's in the way. He's been there that long. It's not likely he's ever getting in the pool. But the text reminds us that on this day, Jesus stopped by. The only thing different about this day and the other 13,870 was on this day, this man has an encounter with Jesus. Because Jesus does something that probably has not happened to this man in the last 38 years. He affirms his humanity. Talks to him. And you all know by now, when you talk to unclean people, that makes you unclean too. So Jesus is willing to get unclean to meet this man where he's at. It's kind of what makes Jesus unique. Text says that Jesus saw the man lying there and he said, do you want to be made well? Some of your translations say, do you want to be made whole? The man responded by telling Jesus his problem. And Jesus said to him, stand up, take your mat, and walk. At once, the man was made well, took his mat, and began to walk. Jesus provides us a happy ending to a 38-year-old dilemma. Since we got the punchline, we know the end of the story, we know how it ends, it would probably be appropriate for me to take my seat. But I got one question. Why? Why did this man live in the pool for 38 years? Now, on the surface, my simple question also has a very simple answer. Byron, look at verse 4. Verse 4 says, for an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the waters. Whoever stepped in first after stirring the water was made well, and from whatever disease that person had. Oh, that clears it up. Now I understand. This man was waiting for verse 4, waiting for the angel to stir up the waters, and whoever was first, he could jump in and he'd be healed. Oh, I get it now. That also explains his interesting response to Jesus. Jesus asked the man, do you want to be made well? And then the man says, well, sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water stirred up, and while I'm making my way, someone steps in ahead of me. See, he wasn't first when the water was stirred up. The verse 4 response clears things up if it were not for one other problem. There is no verse 4. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Now, some of you looking in your Bible, putting in your translation, I got it in my Bible. Yeah, I get that depending on your translation, but some Bibles do have a verse 4 and some don't. I won't go into all the historical reasons for the inconsistent inclusion and exclusion of verse 4. I will say, however, when you read the Greek translation, which is the closest we have to the original text, there is no verse 4. It doesn't exist. It was added after the fact. I suspect someone put it there in an attempt to help believers such as you and I understand why this man stayed in the same spot for 38 years. Because without verse 4, this man's 30-year stagnation doesn't make sense. Hello, somebody. But that is the challenge that I pose to you this morning, Resurrection. What do you do when there is no verse 4? What do you do when the reason you thought you were there doesn't exist? What are you going to do when someone less qualified than you gets the promotion you thought you ought to have? What are you going to do when your job goes overseas but your mortgage is still due? What are you going to do when you find out that supervisor of yours is really named Judas Iscariot? What are you going to do when loneliness is the only one you can count on? What are you going to do when friends turn their back on you? When the bottom falls out? When trouble becomes an unwanted roommate in your house? What are you going to do when you realize you've been stagnant in one place, waiting for a reason that does not exist? What are you going to do when you find out there is no verse 4? See, without verse 4, this man who lived approximately 2,000 years ago can still help us better understand our existence in the 21st century. And in our attempt to unpack the links between the man in our text and our existence today, we must raise two fundamental questions about the text. First question, without verse 4, why was the man sitting there for 38 years? The text gives us enough to know that this man has a problem. There's something wrong, and it's quite possible that he did indeed believe an angel of the Lord would stir the water so that healing could take place for whatever reason. But we're not sure if that's the case. What we do know, based on the text, is this man had been in the condition so long that his focus